Springvale Rollers, ranked the best team in the world last season, may be forced to break up. At least if I'm going to maintain the funding challenge I've set myself. I could just go up to very good and trivialize it, but no. Let's not do that. Does replacing Winter with Ricky put us in the green? No, we are just barely in the red still. Which means we're going to have to go even further down our list and pick up Cedric Rao as our replacement sprinter. I do want a sprinter. Alright, let's go over what I'm targeting this year. Herman Watson, I'd like to try and win the Vista Het Vizier and the Arcana Tour. The Giro Farinia would be a bonus, but I can get that next season as well. With Pavlov, we try for the Masters and the Sky Race. The Steinveg or the Desert would be a nice bonus, but I'm not expecting either of them. That's why Campbell actually has the major fitness peak for the Desert Classic. I couldn't really use that major fitness peak anywhere else anyway. Assuming Pavlov is still too weak without his flat point for the Steinveg, Kramer is going to be our leader in that. So let's start with our first attempt at the Desert Sprint. I'm not expecting a win here, but if something chaotic happens right at the end here, Pavlov could steal this. He does have a +2, and this is a field that is mostly flat riders. So, status reports. Campbell has managed to make it up towards the front. That's where he needs to be. Pavlov is going to be cutting it close if he wants to make a move on this mountain, because I think this next move is going to go straight through the technical zone. They're not going to stop short of it. And indeed, they have gone into it, though thankfully, Pavlov's not going to need to use attack points yet. I am slightly worried that he might run out of energy instead, but with only a few moves to go, I'd rather he have the attack points left. Is anyone going to make the jump straight over the mountain, or is that too much for even the hardest of men? And as long as I'm attempting this with Pavlov, I might as well attempt it with Watson too. He can come out of the relay himself. We've still got Campbell ready to position himself. He'll be the last person to act if it does come down to a mass sprint. But we can't do anything because the flat sector directly following the mountain, and because the mountain is so steep, it really comes down to who has the highest energy per and attack per turn, and that's not us. It's going to be Campbell battling just to get a top 10 finish here, and we're going to have to wait another day. And even with Campbell, that was a max move. I can't do anything in this sprint. I have to stay where I am and hope that I get some kind of lane to finish well. Even though Sean Watson was able to open up big time to try and overturn the deficit, it wasn't enough. We can do this and maybe get 5th. We get 5th. This race is going to be a tough nut to crack then, because I thought we had a decent setup for Pavlov here, but he really did need the +1 in flat over the +2 in climbing. We had to get rid of a level 9 this season to make budget, but since we should be able to increase the budget again, I actually think Tarasov is a good person to add to the shortlist here. He's going to be demanding less money than most riders of his level because his potential's only 10, and he's also past the age of 30. And yes, that is an actual game mechanic. Riders demand the most money relative to their skill and potential in their mid-20s, and then they start becoming less demanding again as they're approaching the end of their career. This is a surprisingly small field we have for a race of this caliber. I'm liking our chances with both Kramer and Pavlov. Pavlov is now on a minor peak. It has become clear over the course of this stage that this is not Pavlov's day. Kramer now has a 32-point advantage in energy. This does, however, give us a good chance to gauge what Pavlov might be able to do in the future, because Kramer's specializations are effectively identical to what Pavlov will have once he gets the next cobble point. It's just that Pavlov will also have a +1 in mountain, which won't be important for the Steinveg Classic. This is going to be a tricky dogfight from here, There are no more cobbles. The finish line is in sight. There are still plenty of riders with the energy and the sprints. Unless I go immediately, but I don't dare do that because I'm not the last guy. Fournier would still be able to follow, and Fournier, on the other hand, cannot make that attack himself. If we just do our own thing, Badawi is going to be able to outsprint us no matter where I position Kramer. So I'm going to have to do something. I may have to force Billy Hall to make the pull instead. That way that's one less rider for me to pass with Kramer. I do need to be on Badawi's wheel. So that would mean going here with Pavlov. If Hall relays, great. If not, the worst case scenario is that Kramer goes to here. But Hall has indeed made the relay. Oh, and Badawi hasn't even sprinted? This actually screws me in the other direction now, because Fournier will still have enough to get over the top of Kramer, and I think Gatti is now the winner. I needed Badawi to sprint. And that just goes to show that the best laid plans can be spoiled by someone deciding he doesn't want to win. So, what are we going to do with you, Cedric Rouse? Well, his major for the season is the Murano Trophy, and if we want him to be ready for the end sprint, I think he does need more energy. I wish I could work on his recovery, but that's something that's going to have to happen on level 7. Oh, by the way, Jonas Winter ended up on Telecom Ohana. This one's not going to be easy. We have a long flat stretch that Pavlov doesn't really like before the kicker. But when I look at the other 3 and 2-star favourites here, they're not really targeting this race. Meyer and Grob kinda are. The more legs that we can save on this route, the better. Especially if the pack does something like this. They don't want to stop here. They're going to go into the climb, and then I'm sure they're going to try and blitz out of it too. This is going to be a hard couple of moves. Although I'm tempted to drop short again, because that's not a particularly good landing zone, that 4. This 5 even seems better, but let's take our chances. If the peloton goes super hard, that's okay. I've got 2 helpers behind and can drop Ward back. Yeah, that's what I thought. The peloton didn't even ride past the technical zone, and we're going to reconnect, having consumed less energy on those 2 moves. Pavlov's going to be in a great position now to do something. Well, the breakaways finally run out of juice, and the peloton has decided to reel them in now. We are approaching the final dig. Oh, they're deciding to go further. So we're going to have 1 turn to be able to get into the relay, and then 1 additional turn to position ourselves at the front if we want to lead this sprint from the front. This is going to be perfect. We're actually going to be the last riders in the relay to act even, so no matter what anyone else does, I'm going to be able to position Pavlov at the front. Pavlov is going to have a 7-7, and I've looked at everyone who is in this relay. I do not believe anyone's got more than a +16 here, so if we lead this from the front, no one should be sprinting over. Right, we're about to find out if that is indeed the case. Grassi, 44. No one's even reaching Pavlov yet, and he's gapped them. He's gapped a lot. Vladislav Pavlov takes his 2nd monument of the playthrough with a thermonuclear attack up this final 14% climb. But yeah, it's good points for Watson too, because I do want him to reach level 10 at least by the time we do the Tour of Kazmir again for real, which will be next season. This season, I don't know what I'm going to do at the Kazmir. Now the bad news is we've reached a point in Pavlov's career where he doesn't gain a lot of experience even if he wins a big monument. He didn't even get to level 10, whereas I would have expected him to from where he was. I think he was 60% of the way there. We've already had 3 lengthy races in this episode, but I want to get started on the Giro Friunia. That way I only need to do 9 stages for each of the next 2 episodes as opposed to 10 and 11, because I would like to be done with the Giro by episode 3 of this season. So already a very different feel in this Giro Friunia to the big Gasmia Tour. This sprint type stage that you wouldn't really see in the ladder. And this may be an environment that Watson feels okay in, because we do have that +1 in downhill still, and we now have the +2 that we didn't have back at Gasmia. But everyone's going to reconnect anyway, so it was a nothing burger in the end. Have a feeling that Niels Meyer might have the better of us. Then again, he might not. Either way, we've got to stay firmly planted on him. But no one really had the pace to get over this relay. Gerhard Horn's going to take the stage. I'm not sure he's going to be a factor in the final classification though, if he's going after these mountain sprints. Bit of a false start then to the GC. We're not going to know who the real favourites are until we go up this one. This is slightly longer and has a tougher stage leading into it. Oh, well, just leave Kramer behind immediately, why don't you? Dang it. This group's got to start working, because we're going to be outside time limit with Kramer and out on stage 2 if we don't get more cooperation, or at least the catch up to the next group on the road so we can have a larger coalition and try and make it to the end of this stage. And this is really dumb. Those 3 riders that were leeching off of us for half the stage have decided to attack instead of helping each other get through the stage. These guys, they're getting the black pin. Those are absolute knobheads. Oh, do I go with that? All right, let me assess what our plan is for the next couple of moves. Okay, a 6 and a 7 to get to here, and I don't think he would want to ride into the climb. So I honestly think the peloton is better, because if we just stay with the peloton and go hard and just have Campbell go harder these next couple of moves, we're going to end up in the same spot anyway. Oh, Meyer really is going to ride into this climb. Oh, Meyer really is going to ride into the middle of the climb and try and gain time that way. If he does gain time here, we might still be able to get him back on the next stage, because this is going to take up all of his remaining attack points just to gain a little bit of time on us. And we are going to lose about half a turn here, but we do get to go with this second group that contains the rest of the favourites. Yeah, it is going to be 0.46 in the end. That's fine, it's a long tour, we can make that back up. And as for the Kramer dilemma, he has thankfully found a support group and is going to make it home quite easily. That time limit wasn't even going that quickly. Oh, bugger. Just when I thought I might be able to counter-attack on this stage, I find out that Niels Meyer's got a major fitness peak and has recovered all the way back to 24 attack already. This is a pretty stupid move, but I don't trust the trailing group's ability to reel the peloton back in time for me to also move to the front for the final climb where we need to be. So we're going to have to go. You know, on second thoughts, we might have actually been able to do it. The peloton's only gotten to here. However, my point about not being able to both make it to the peloton and move back into where we need to be stands. And in fact, Rouse is not going to make it in time to contest this sprint, so he might as well hang back and wait for a more opportune day. And after all of that, the peloton makes a relatively short move, and Jonas Winter, yeah, he's been caught. It's going to be a max move for us just to keep up with them. Should I do this? I've got to think about what the next stage is if I do this, because I'm pretty sure I saw another tricky stage coming up, and I want to make sure I have attack points for that. I mean, I suppose we get a much better fractional, but not enough to justify that attack. And actually, that might help us even more if Nielsmeyer is also trying to sprint for these, because I'm not going to. He doesn't even get it in the end. Asimov and Elfamich goes over everyone. I'm happy for them to spoil themselves going after the minor placings. I am solely interested in GC. Yep, I was right. It's a tougher stage coming up, and so many legs burned themselves out that we're actually a favourite for the first time, a one-star favourite. But look at this, Maya is not looking too good. He's gone out too early, and I think this time we might actually be able to beat him.